Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Marcus Nez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Mario Kart World. Yeah, that's right. Brand new game. Well, depending on when this episode actually goes live, maybe it's not so brand new, but I'd probably yeah, I'd like and try and getting it up in the releasing so soon. Blah, 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 blah. But as I have talked about in the past, the definition for what a backlog game is, with me at least, has expanded. And it's expanded a whole bunch. It is now just a game that's been released. So if a game is available, it's in my backlog. Well, if I own it. If I don't own it, it's not in my backlog. But as long as it's out, it's in my backlog because I'm just a crazy wacko. And you can blame it, if you want to blame it on something, on the hair, because this decision to grow my hair out, terrible, terrible idea. This is not a good look for me, but I'm committing to it even though I hate it and I feel awful about myself. It's a real bad thing when you've got body dysmorphia and you just do things to actively make you hate yourself even more. That's why the video's in black and white. Did you not know that? You're probably wondering, why is this in black and white? That's weird. Well, I think I look less ugly in black and white than I do in color, thus the desaturation. And if you say in the comments, actually, I think you look just as ugly or not even uglier in black and white, I'll delete your comment because I don't need any of that negativity. And that would just be an asshole thing to do. That would be showing a lack of sympathy for my disability in being body dysmorphic, among many other things. You should already know that. I'm weird. Clearly, there are things wrong with me. But is anyone who doesn't have anything wrong with them really a normal person? Who would you trust more? Someone with issues or someone with no issues? I think I'm going to trust the person with issues. Need a tissue? I'm clearly out of my mind and I should probably not record this because I'm just stammering and mumbling my way through this, but I'm feeling I don't know. I don't know. It's weird because I'm not that excited to talk about Mario Kart World. But we're here. I obviously got a Switch 2, and not to spoiler, this won't really give away my feelings for the game as a whole, but I was genuinely excited for Mario Kart World prior to getting it. And that is a bit of a surprise to those who know me because I'm not a Mario Kart fan. I'm not the biggest kart racer. My favorite kart racer, well, I would maybe say Disney Speedstorm if it wasn't busted in the sense that it eventually becomes a pay to win free to play game. And I'm sure there are many examples of that, but in my experience, that's the only game I've run into where I clearly hit a wall where the competition was so much more powerful than I was in terms of their stats that in order to reach them, I would either have to grind the hell out of the game, but I don't even know if that was possible. It's been a while since I've played, or I would have to pay to get these currency pieces to improve my vehicle. So I think that ultimately kills it for being my favorite, but it plays so well. It looks great. I grew to like and appreciate the Disney song remixes. It just is sadly a free to play game. And I wish this would be amazing if it happened, but I wish they would, whenever they sunset the game and are done supporting it, do some kind of offline. Here is everything. Pay $60 to get all of the tracks we've added over the time, over all the years, all the characters, so on and so forth. I would buy that in a heartbeat. So my favorite kart racer is probably beach buggy racing, which I beat 100% in on my Switch 1 back when I used to use an exercise bike. Not an exercise bike, but the kind of sitting back one where I don't think you're actually getting much of a workout. But I would play Beach Buggy Racing on my Switch there and had a really good time with that game. Of all the kart races possible, that's the one that stood out to me. Maybe that one's a underground hit in the kart racing community. I don't know. But with Mario Kart, my experience is somewhat limited, maybe about half of them. I started with Double Dash. That was my first Mario Kart. I didn't play Mario Kart 64. Is that what it's called? Or Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo? Is that what that one was called? I started with Double Dash, and because of that, I think what holds true is the sentiment you're first of whatever, whether it be a movie series, a video game series, a TV show, what have you. Your first is often your favorite because it is what introduced you to that property, and you're going to have that nostalgic love for it. Likely. Not always the case, but it's a good chance that that'll be the case. And with Double Dash, that is the case for me. I love Double Dash, my memory of it. I haven't played it since high school, but I had a really good time with it. And it is the only Mario Kart game I ever played locally with other people. I have since played, I think I played some Mario Kart 8 online, and of course, Mario Kart World. I don't know about DS. Did that have online play, or was it just remote system link type online play? But other than Double Dash, I played DS, which I think I probably liked because of the novelty of having a Mario Kart game on a handheld that was more of a real one, quote unquote real, as opposed to some kind of 2D version. And I played Mario Kart 8. I don't remember playing Wii. And now Mario Kart World. I don't like Mario Kart 8. I don't like the way Mario Kart 8 feels as a kart racer. But again, not the biggest kart racer fan. Don't have the biggest or the most experience with them. I've never played in Crash Team Racing or Diddy Kong Racing, or I've played some of the Sonic ones. Thought those are fine. But again, not the biggest kart racer fan. But with Mario Kart World, I was excited for it because I love the Forza Horizon games. And being able to just chill out and drive around in an open world in a kart racer or in a Mario Kart game sounded like a good time. I was worried from the get-go that the open world might be pretty barren or repetitive or somewhere in between, that it wouldn't have the same level of enjoyment that I get out of something like Forza Horizon or a crew game, or insert any other open world racing game here, because I even enjoy the crew. I like just I think with the crew there is the novelty of being able to drive around in this very truncated version of the United States. There's something fun about that, even though when you go to a city, and you're driving around like, I guess, look, there's a Sears Towery looking thing, and there's a building that looks like this one, but that's about it. There's a diamond that I guess is supposed to be the bean. All right, couldn't get the rights for that one, and so on and so forth. But in finally getting my hands on Mario Kart World, I am ultimately disappointed. But I want to get to the good first. Knockout Tour is amazing. I probably played about 12 hours of Mario Kart, maybe a little more, 12 to 15 hours of Mario Kart World, and maybe close to half of my time was spent in Knockout Tour, and a good chunk of that was playing against friends. Knockout Tour is an incredibly fun time. One of the things I love about any kind of adversarial thing where you're playing against other people, especially friends, is that you're having a good time when you get angry. When you are telling your friends to fuck off, or anytime you are swearing or cussing out your friends in a multiplayer scenario, it's a good time. the angrier and more belligerent and vulgar you get and whatnot, the better. That's just a fact. And that happened plenty of times. The tension of getting from, so if you don't know what Nakatora mode is, it's essentially the battle royale type mode they introduced in Mario Kart World. And if you played Stampede Racing Royale, it is very much so akin to that. Think of it less like a battle royale game and more like Fall Guys, where there are a certain number of checkpoints, and each checkpoint the first so and so, whether it be 18, 12, 6, 4, whatever, the first number here that past the finish line will continue on to the next checkpoint, and so on and so forth until you get down to the last 4 racers who are competing for first place. There is a great degree of tension when you are battling for that last spot between any checkpoint. That's always exciting, especially when you're playing against and with other friends and it's between you and one other friend. And then when you are in that last group, it's very exciting. Me and my friend Jedi had a super close finish, a finish that I didn't know who won until we saw the results at the end. I guess I would have known had I paid attention and noticed I had the crown at the end, because he knew he lost just by the fact that he lost the crown at the very end. And I wasn't even thinking about that, because when you're in first place, you have a crown. And that was one of the most exciting finishes I've had to any kind of race, kart racer or normal racer. And that wasn't an anomaly. That wasn't the exception. That was very common throughout most of the races. I also realized in playing through knockout tours that I'm maybe better, or either world is easier than previous games, because I don't remember being competitive in 150cc, but I can't imagine playing world on anything but 150cc. But Knockout Tour is an incredible time. However, I think I'm not going to blame Knockout Tour for this, because I think it ultimately falls on the choice to structure all this within an open world, in this open giant world of an environment. But the rest of the game suffers because of that, because of the open world. And let's just get that out of the way, because I spent the least amount of time in the open world, and that's because I found it to be very boring. All the P switches and whatnot, I did maybe 20 of them, and they range from collect these coins in a certain time limit. Remember this kind of course. Here's a remembrance race where you're just going to do a handful of laps in a certain amount of time. You get extra time every time you pass through a checkpoint in the race. And then I don't even remember what other ones were. Do this specific line with some wall jumping and some railing, things like that. Nothing too exciting or creative, at least in what I experienced. There's also a handful of, in every single region, there are these question mark block spaces on the ground that if you drive over, you'll unlock them. I don't remember if they gave you anything. You can, but you can also do this in races. When you go over and go to a restaurant of some sort, get that item, eat it, you'll unlock, if it's something you've not found already, costumes for your characters, which clutters the shit out of the character select screen. I don't know why it's this way, where each additional costume for a character, not every character has additional costumes, and it varies from character to character how many costumes they have. Your Mario and Luigi have maybe 6 additional costumes, if not a few more. and then someone like a baby Peach or something has one or two, and then others will have none. But when you eat a food, you'll change into a new costume and unlock that character. But like I said, in the character select screen, they're all individual characters. So you'll have the game can spout having, when all is said and done, probably 100-ish characters or so, but it's really just the main 20 whatever, and then a shitload of costumes. And it would be real nice if it was just here. You want to play as Mario? Good. Here's Mario. Now select which of the costumes you want for him. That would have decluttered the character select screen and made, because the thing that makes it even worse is that it's not like you have every Mario in a row. So it's not every Mario costume right after each other. They're spread out in the character selection. So if you want a specific Mario skin, you have to remember, okay, wait, this one is actually on page 3. And this one's actually on page 2, so on and so. It's a fucking mess. But in the open world, in addition to P-switches and the exclamation mark or question mark blocks that you can find on the ground, I don't remember what else there is to find. I think there are these coins you can find, and those are maybe the most interesting to hunt for, because when you find them, then you have to try and figure out how to get to that space in the environment. And that's kind of fun to try and think of either creative or obvious ways to reach them. So there's some fun to be had there. But what makes the whole experience exponentially more frustrating and more unpleasant to engage with is the fact that, in maybe an attempt to oversimplify the experience or not bog down people with too many stats and too much information, you have no idea how many P-switches there are in the game. I think I heard on a podcast that people have found so far at least over 400, which blows my mind because I spent 15 minutes at one time driving around in the environment and I didn't come across one. And then there was another time where I was in an area and they were just all over the place. So I think they are not evenly spread out, because in the city, didn't find a single fucking one. Then I was at Bowser's Castle or some shit. They're all over the place. But there's no way to actually track them. When you've completed a P-switch, it will be gray in the environment. So if you come across it again in the environment, you'll know that you've done it. But there's nothing on the map that shows you've done it. There is just a simple, this is how many P-switches you've done number, but it doesn't tell you how many P-switches are in a region or total in the entire map. It gives you nothing. You also get no kind of stats for how long you've driven in the world, how long you've driven as this character or that character, how many power slides you've done, how many foods of this kind you've eaten, how many blah, blah, blah. You can track the costumes and what characters still have unlockable ones by going to their icon on the map and seeing, okay, there's still a few blacked out ones. But that is pretty much the extent of the information you're given. And that is incredibly frustrating to just be given nothing to go off of. And I also hate that, and this makes engaging with the P-switches maybe more annoying than anything else. If you're on a challenging one for you, maybe it's easy for other people, but if you're having difficulty with a particular P-switch, but you're stubborn and you're the kind of person who wants to keep retrying until you do it, the time it takes to restart a challenge, a P-switch, is way too long. Because when you hit retry, it doesn't just automatically throw you into the challenge. It respawns you about 5 feet behind the P-switch, so you can drive right back into it. But what happens is, one, you're waiting for that respawn, you're respawned, and that's maybe a second or two. That's not a long time. But you're respawned behind the P-switch, so you have to drive into it and hit it, and that will then initiate the challenge, and then it shows you the challenge. It does you a little like flyover of what you need to do and spends 5 or so seconds reminding you of what the challenge is, when in reality, when you're hitting retry, you know what the challenge is. You don't need to drive back into it. You clearly want to do it again. So just skip all that and put me right at the thing so I can start immediately. I don't need to be constantly wasting 5 seconds. It may not seem like a long time, but if you're on something and you're retrying it 20, 30 times, that adds up. And I wish and would like to see them update that. I don't know if they will. I still, as someone who's not a big Nintendo gamer, I don't know what their cadence is in terms of updates and specifically updating little things like that. So I don't know what to expect, but I don't expect much. But that is the open world. It's incredibly frustrating and boring to partake in. It also sucks that if you are someone who likes the idea and wants to just casually drive around in the open world with friends, the P switches won't be in there then. You can't find P switches. You can find the question mark spaces, and you can, with those at least, you can work as a team to find different ones. And if somebody finds one you haven't found, you can teleport to any one of your friends who's playing in the open world with you. That's nice, but not being able to do the P switches when in a cooperative free roam mode, it makes playing it together not as desirable because you're missing out on a huge part of what free roam's all about. It also just feels kind of like an afterthought because it's not in the menu. It's just hit the plus button and you'll be thrown into the open world. But what I think the whole open world structure of the game ultimately did was ruin the rest of the game. Because, and they didn't have to do this, but clearly they want to stay within that whole open world vibe. It makes sense for the knockout tour to be what it is, which is just a long, continuous race, no laps. So you're driving through 4 segments. That makes sense, and it's all following through in the open world. But the way the Grand Prix are now set up is that I believe the first race is just a regular lap-based race, 3 laps. And then the rest of them is you driving those first 2 laps to the circuit, the track essentially. And then the final lap of those races, the additional races in a Grand Prix, are the traditional lap of what you would expect from a traditional Mario Kart game. I don't like that. I don't know why the Grand Prix has to follow the same, essentially, format structure as Knockout Tour. That's what Knockout Tour is for. That's what we have that mode for, and it's fun and it's great and it's different. But with the Grand Prix, I just wanted to work like a traditional Mario Kart game and just give me the laps. That's all I want. I don't know if I'm in the minority as someone who's not a big Mario Kart person, but that's all I want. And I don't think setting it up that way would disconnect me from the open world in any way. It's just, okay, we have these specific Grand Prix. They're their own thing. We have the open world, which is its own thing, and we have the Knockout Tour, which is its own thing, but it's in the open world. So it's kind of cool. You get to drive around the open world through in a more structured way in there. But yeah, I don't like that. And I think maybe that is why many of the tracks in the Grand Prix mode, which I played through and completed in 2.5 hours, Rainbow Road and all that. I don't know what you need to unlock that. I think there's some convoluted stuff to unlock the reverse versions, which the mirror versions, which I don't care about. But a lot of the Grand Prix tracks just didn't stick out to me. I think the one that stood out to me most and is probably common out there is the Donkey Kong themed one, where you're going back and forth through these levels and it's structured like the first Donkey Kong level in the Donkey Kong arcade game. That's cool. That's creative. That's interesting. It's something that stood out to me. And if they had more of that, if they didn't want to follow the circuit structure, I wish they did some more interesting stuff in that vein. But I didn't get much of that out of it. Items and all that jazz. Nothing new really to report, I guess, other than the dude who allows you to throw hammers and then will transform people into random characters. The two battle modes, Balloon Battle and Coin Rush, I think Coin Rush is way more fun and feels way more competitive because I played both, and in the Balloon Battle I did with a bunch of friends, Jedi, remember Jedi from Nakator fame? He wiped the floor with all of us, and none of us knew how the fuck he was doing it. Because he beat all of us. When all was said and done, he maybe tripled the score of the person in second place. It was embarrassing. And none of us could figure out what the fuck was going on. And it was infuriating. I haven't played it since, and I'm never playing it ever again. Because fucking fuck that shit. But Coin Rush is where you're driving around in this kind of open space, collecting coins. If you get hit, you drop coins, so on and so forth. And that was not so bad, depending on the environment. In ones that are more kind of circular, more like a lap, and have maybe a part in the middle that you can't go through, those aren't as fun because it feels like everyone's just following a lap. You're either going one direction or the other, and then people crash into each other or hit each other with some kind of item, and it's just those get a little repetitive. But in the more open areas, they're fun to do. I like the slalomy, snowy mountain one. So that mode is fine. I didn't play much of it, but I definitely would put Coin Rush above the balloon battle mode. Yeah. Overall, I guess because I was excited about this Mario Kart and it being the first Mario Kart I've ever been excited about, I am ultimately disappointed, but at the same time, I knew there was a chance I wouldn't love this game given my history with Mario Kart and kart racers in general. And so with that, I think I still have to be disappointed because while the Grand Prix probably never would have spoke to me. And I only play that against the AI. I didn't play that with friends. We just did Knockout Tour. Maybe with friends I would enjoy it more because playing against the AI didn't do anything for me. However, as a counterpoint to that, I did play some Knockout Tour against the AI and still had a good time with that. Much better with friends, but against the AI, I still enjoyed Knockout Tour. And the Knockout Tour I did with friends, maybe the most fun I've ever had with a Mario Kart game. So that's some high points in his favor that you could say would make me not say it was disappointing. However, the open world was what I was really, really excited about and what I thought would potentially keep me playing it and keep me coming back for weeks, if not months. And after an hour and 15 minutes, I was done with it. I went back to it here and there, 45 minutes here, half an hour there, and just sprinkle a bit more time into it. But at no point did the light bulb go off. Did I realize how much fun and how good it could be? It just confirmed each and every time that, at least for me, the free roam mode is not what I wanted or expected or hoped it would be. Can they do anything to fix that? I don't think so. Some clarification, some clarity in terms of how many P-switches are in the game, how many are in each region, some stuff like that could make it more engaging for me so that I know this particular area I found 15 of 20 P-switches, so I could go there and try to clear out that area, or I can maybe go to a different area that will have an abundance of P-switches I've not even tried yet. And that would make me potentially more interested in exploring the world, because I would know very clearly which parts of the world I've explored thoroughly and which ones I haven't. But until that happens, I don't see myself spending a lot more time in the open world. However, I will play Knockout Tour any second my friends say, "Hey, you want to play some Knockout Tour?" Hell yeah. You want to play some Knockout Tour? You want to play some Knockout Tour? Let's do it. It's so much fun. But I can't say I love the game or even like it for a singular mode in a game full of a handful of other modes that underwhelm me. If there was just a Knockout Tour Mario Kart for $20, hell yeah. Let's do it. And to that point, speaking of $20, I in no way think this is an $80 game. This being the first $80 game, I don't see what in it justifies that price tag. The open world feels very empty and boring to me. The Grand Prix, not all that. It's different in terms of the way races are structured, and I think negatively affected or changed. But it's just, nothing really new there. Knockout Tour, great, but I just don't see the $80 value in Mario Kart World over other games, even Mario Kart 8. It's not fair to compare it to Deluxe, because Deluxe was a Wii game that was ported. But probably even if I think back to Mario Kart 8, which was 60, maybe that was 50. I don't know. I can't remember how much Nintendo games cost back then on the Wii U. But yeah, I love Knockout Tour. The Grand Prix are whatever. Coin Rush isn't bad. Balloon Battle, fuck you, Jedi. And the open world, I'm good. And that is my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on Mario Kart World. And that is going to do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye.